Good day to you. My name is Connor McMillan. I'm so happy to have you here. I'm answering the question, what is internal family systems therapy? Perhaps you already kind of know what internal family systems therapy is, and perhaps you have absolutely no idea. I hope to make this video interesting and to offer additional information, whether you're completely new to IFS or you kind of have a vague sense of what it is already. So to give you some background on who I am, in under 30 seconds or so, I am a life coach. I've been coaching individuals, couples. I work a lot with men developing a mature masculine. And I've worked with all sorts of different people with all sorts of different challenges that they want to change in their life or they want to move through or get unstuck from. In 2014, I decided to get trained in IFS from the IFS Institute. That's sort of the official IFS training center that exists, and it was absolutely marvelous. It was totally life-changing for me as an individual, and I think it's been incredibly helpful for all of my clients. After I got trained, I did specifically IFS work with clients for probably 3 to 4 years. So I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of drop-in IFS-based sessions with clients. And then I moved on to really focusing on coaching with a blend of IFS kind of in the background or in the foundation. So I use it every single day, and I use it a lot with other people, and I definitely use it a lot with myself. So that is my background. Let's talk about what this thing is called internal family systems therapy. So let's just break it down really quick. You have internal, we're going to put that over here for a second. Then you have family, you have systems, you have therapy. Therapy, you probably know what that is. So we don't really have to talk about that. But let's talk about these other two because these are really, really crucial to understanding what IFS is all about. First, let's start with systems. Systems is an approach when we're talking about it regarding therapy in understanding a system as complex and interwoven. I often refer to a spider web, where if you pluck one string on the spider web, the entire spider web vibrates. So one perspective, probably the primary perspective in systems, in approaching therapy from a systems perspective, is like if you as a client come to a therapist focused on systems and you have 10 different challenges that you're looking at, they are going to know we don't have to tackle all 10. If we focus on one, the one that is on top, and we provide all the therapeutic elements necessary, self-awareness, compassion, deep understanding, we can provide some healing or move through that challenge or change our narrative to one that's more optimistic around that challenge. That's going to have a positive effect on that challenge, but it's also going to pluck one of the strings of the web in a positive nature and send that positive vibration, that healing energy, to the rest of the system. Systems is about understanding how every little piece of our internal world and external world really plays off of each other. So if you change one piece in that line of connection, you change the whole path of how you flow, of how you operate, of how you think, of how you feel. So that's the systems concept. Now let's talk about family. Obviously, you know what a family is. And when we're talking about family therapy is a specific type of therapy that works with families. And families, you could call all sorts of things families. There's your biological family, but there's also the family that you choose. And a family in this context, we could just kind of think of an intimate grouping of people that have a shared relationship of some sort. And that because of that intimate relational exchange, it's similar to the systems concept, where if you make a positive impact on one of those people in the relationship, it's going to have a positive impact on all of the people in the relationship. And also, if you change anything about that relational dynamic just in one way for one person, it's going to have this change, this reverberation in the entirety of the family. So in family therapy, one particular thing to highlight, because it plays into IFS very, very crucially, is like, say you do have a biological family, just very standard, cookie cutter style, mom, dad, 3 kids, let's say. And the family is having a really hard time. And the family has sort of pointed to, well, it's the youngest one here. The youngest one is really chaotic. They get overwhelmed very easily. They're throwing things around the house. They have these tantrums, these outbursts. And it's really affecting the rest of the family. In family therapy, you wouldn't go into that setting and as a family therapist say, well, we've identified the problem. It's the little one. Let's get him out of here and the rest of you are going to do just fine. You would never do that, right? That would be absolutely insane. What a family therapist is going to do is go in and, yes, spend time with that individual child who is appearing to have the primary issue or challenges in the family. But they're also going to spend time with the other family members. Because remember, if you can change something positively and say mom or dad or older sibling, well, that positive effect is going to be reverberated into this younger child, such that you may not even have to directly attempt to change or help or heal the child that's having what's perceived as the issue. You can actually change an element of the structure of the system, and it can have a positive effect and offer change to the child. Another important element, and just keep this in mind because I'm going to translate this over into IFS therapy in a minute. The primary focus in family therapy is to look at the family as a whole and to help each member of the family integrate into a more cohesive whole, a healthier whole, and function well together. And this is a really important element conceptually of family therapy versus individual therapy, because we're talking about multiple energies, multiple perspectives, multiple personalities, multiple intentions. It's complex. But the beautiful thing is, again, these things are all connected. So it's not like you have to go through each family member and, figure out all these complex details of how their system works and then how this thing is connected with this other part of the family and then it goes down here. I mean, that can be kind of helpful, but you can also entirely lose yourself in trying to map all that stuff. So the important piece here is just to have space for each individual of the family to hear their story and have compassion for it, and to really ask them, like, how can we help you function more wholly? And when you get down to the core of it, it often has to do with the individual's ability to be themselves, to be seen and to be validated, and to play the role that they believe is important in the family. So, move this over, but hold on to that understanding, and let's talk about the internal element of internal family systems therapy. Oftentimes when I reference internal family systems and no one has ever heard about it, they assume that it has to do with the external family. It does not. It may, in an IFS session, you may talk about your external family, but it's certainly not the focus. The focus is on the internal family that we have. So our internal family is also referred to as our parts. And this is something that you have probably heard about, whether you've heard about IFS, whether you know about IFS or not, you've heard about parts. And you actually already talk about your parts. And a really clear example of this is when we say something, a friend asks us out to dinner and a movie, and our response is, well, a part of me really wants to go out and enjoy the night with you and do this movie and dinner thing. And another part of me just wants to lay in bed and get a good night of sleep. So these are two different parts of your system. They have different narratives, different perspectives. They actually have different memories, and they respond differently to external stimuli. These parts we view in IFS as your internal family. So, going back to what I highlighted in family therapy, when we start to dive in to our parts and we start to really paint them, to color them, to see them more clearly, when we bring them out and sort of look at them, we begin this process of really reestablishing, or perhaps even establishing for the first time, a truly familial type of energetic connection with our internal world, such that we get to a point in IFS, if you do this work long enough, whether it's on your own or with a therapist, you will get to this point where there is no part of you that you want to get rid of. Now consider that for a minute, because all of us in our lives at various times have identified a part of us that we want to get rid of. Oh, I gotta change this thing about myself. Oh, I hate this thing about myself. Why do I always do this? I wish this thing would just go away. And while that reaction makes sense, imagine that we were saying that about literally one of our family members in the external world. You would never say that. I mean, you might say that, but at your core, you probably don't actually feel that way. And this is the truth about IFS as well. IFS asks you to find your core, which is identified in IFS as self energy. In other modalities of healing in the world, this space is also referred to maybe as mindfulness or presence. It's like your highest consciousness, if you will. So from this core, from this self energy, you would be doing your work of IFS, and you would be learning how to really reestablish self energy as the leader of the rest of your parts. So there's this leader called self that is the head of the family. And this energy does not want any of your family members, your internal family members, your parts to go away. This self energy wants to understand these parts, is curious about these parts, has compassion for these parts. And through the process of engaging self energy with parts, there is a natural and organic healing and relaxing process. Because as we do that, as we connect self energy with parts, they feel accepted, seen, valued, and they can integrate into the system such that their behavior actually can shift without us forcing their behavior to shift. So the internal family systems, therapy, protocols are, I wouldn't say vast, but there are many that I'm not going to cover in this video. I do want to highlight the concept, the general concept of how we approach the system via the IFS perspective. And there are lots of kind of intricate, nuanced ways of doing this, but the essence of it is establishing self-leadership, so this place that is calm, curious, and compassionate, establishing that, and then connecting with these different parts in a very loving, compassionate, curious, and calm way. And through that process, healing and integration, a feeling of wholeness can re-emerge. And we can actually capitalize on the energy and the beauty and the complexity. We can really celebrate the complexity of all of our parts. So the synopsis, the condensed version of everything I just shared is internal family systems therapy is a modality, a healing modality focused on individual integration of their complex and beautiful parts. and establishing a place of self-control, self-responsibility, and self-love. I really hope this video was helpful. If you liked this video, let me know by clicking the button that says like and subscribe to the channel. You can share this video around. I appreciate any comments you want to leave. I would also encourage you to check out internalfamilysystems.org, where we provide a lot of information on how you can practice IFS for yourself. It's wonderful to find a good IFS therapist. The reality is that the supply is much smaller than the demand. And so we have created a very unique and professional, powerful program that can help you learn how to practice internal family systems therapy on yourself, for yourself, and have incredible results. So much love to you. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you soon.